Previously, in the Lost Chapters, we witnessed the chaos of the 3rd century when Rome faced 30 usurpers, and Queen Zenobia rose in defiance before being crushed by Emperor Aurelian. The empire had survived, but only barely. Its borders were fractured, its economy in ruin, and trust in emperors shattered by betrayal after betrayal. Out of this darkness emerged a figure unlike any before. A man who would not only restore Rome's power, but reshape it entirely. His name was Diocletian. He came from humble origins, a soldier rising through the ranks. Yet destiny would place the fractured empire in his hands. To the Romans, he was not just another emperor. He was the last hope to prevent the empire's collapse. But power has two faces. Diocletian's reign was marked by both reform and terror. He would bring stability with one hand, and with the other, unleash the bloodiest persecution of Christians the ancient world had ever seen. This is the chilling story of Diocletian and the Great Persecution. A tale of order born from chaos and faith tested by fire. Diocletian seized power in 284 AD after years of bloodshed had left Rome weak and leaderless. Unlike emperors before him, Diocletian understood one brutal truth. The empire was too vast, too unstable, for one man to rule alone. So he reshaped the throne itself. He created the tetrarchy, the rule of 4, to senior emperors, called Augusti, and to juniors, called Caesars. Together, they would defend Rome's endless frontiers, from the Rhine to the Euphrates, from Britain to Egypt. It was a radical vision, an empire no longer tied to one man, but to a system of power. But reforms did not stop there. Diocletian reorganized provinces, strengthened the army, and tried to crush inflation with the infamous edict on maximum prices. For the first time in decades, Rome was not crumbling, it was breathing again. Order, discipline, and authority returned, and Diocletian was hailed as a savior. Yet beneath this order lurked tension. Diocletian believed stability required not just soldiers and laws, but unity of faith. And to him, one religion stood in the way: Christianity. What began as whispers of mistrust would soon ignite into fire and blood. By the dawn of the 4th century, Christianity was no longer a small, hidden sect. It had spread across the empire, from the marketplaces of Alexandria to the legions on the Rhine. Millions now called themselves followers of Christ. To Diocletian, this was not just a faith, it was a threat. Christians refused to sacrifice to the Roman gods, refused to honor the emperor as divine. In a world where unity was survival, their defiance was seen as dangerous, even treasonous. Advisors whispered in Diocletian's ear, Rome cannot stand divided in its worship. In 303 AD, the emperor struck. The first edict was issued. Churches were to be destroyed, scriptures burned, and Christians stripped of rights. Soldiers stormed holy places, tearing down altars, smashing sacred texts into ash. It was the beginning of what history would remember as the Great Persecution. But this was only the beginning. Soon came imprisonment, torture, and executions, designed to break a faith that refused to bow. The empire demanded loyalty to the old gods, and the punishment for resistance was death. The crackdown spread like wildfire across the empire. From Nicomedia to Carthage, governors enforced Diocletian's decrees with ruthless zeal. Christians were rounded up, forced to choose: renounce your faith or face unimaginable pain. Some gave in, burning incense before Roman gods to save their lives, but many refused, and for them, Rome reserved the cruelest of punishments. They were beaten, their flesh torn with iron hooks. Others were burned alive, their cries echoing through city squares. In arenas, wild beasts were unleashed upon men and women who prayed to their last breath. The empire believed that fear would crush the spirit of this new faith. But instead, the blood of martyrs became a rallying cry. Stories spread in whispers of men who sang hymns while flames devoured them, of women who held to their belief as lions tore them apart. Each death, meant to terrify, only inspired others to resist. And still, Diocletian pressed on, edict after edict, demanding sacrifice, demanding submission. The more the Christians endured, the more merciless the punishments became. Rome, once proud of its tolerance, was now drowning in a tide of blood and fear. For years, the empire bled under Diocletian's persecution. Yet the faith he tried to crush only grew stronger. What Rome thought was weakness was, in truth, unshakable resolve. The martyrs became legends, their names carried across provinces in secret prayers. By 305 AD, Diocletian's once mighty grip began to falter. Age and illness wore him down. In a dramatic move, he did what no emperor before him dared. He abdicated the throne, retreating to his palace on the Adriatic coast. The empire he left behind was fractured, unstable, and haunted by the memories of his brutal campaign. The persecution did not end immediately. His successors continued it with varying cruelty. But the tide was turning. Christianity had endured. It had survived fire, sword, and beast. And within just a few decades, the unthinkable would happen. An emperor, Constantine, would embrace the very faith Diocletian had tried to erase. The Great Persecution, Rome's last and most savage attempt to destroy Christianity, had failed. Instead of extinction, it gave birth to resilience, unity, and a faith that would soon stand at the heart of the empire itself. The reign of Diocletian will forever be remembered as both an age of order and an age of blood. His great persecution was Rome's most desperate attempt to silence a faith it could not control. And in the end, his iron hand only forged resilience. The martyrs became immortal in story and spirit. The empire changed, but their legacy endured, stronger than Rome itself. From ashes and agony rose the seeds of a new world, one that Diocletian could never have imagined. This was not the end, but the beginning of a transformation that would shake the ancient world to its core. You've been watching Lost Chapters, where forgotten tales of history are brought back to life with cinematic storytelling. If you found this story as chilling as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, so you don't miss the next chapter of history's darkest and most thrilling secrets.